All right, Thrive Tribe. Happy New Year. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. We are in 2025. Can you believe it? I literally feel like it's hard to believe that we are actually in 2025. But I'm so happy. I mean, just think about it. We've come through a whole nother year together, and this year is going to be even better. We keep outdoing ourselves year after year after year. And this year's theme, overall theme, is purpose, right? It's purpose. I mean, of course, I'm no stranger to the to purpose because of course I wrote a book, Get Courageous Now, a Woman's Guide to Finding Her Passions and Purpose in Life. And this year I'm more dedicated than ever to help us in this community really tap into our God-given purpose and find and create the career that we love, because no longer will we sit back and not walk in the gifts that we actually have, because somebody out there is waiting for your gift. And I really want to help usher us into that. And so this year, I have so many things planned. I hope you all join me at Thrive 25 Women's Conference. That is on July the 12th and the 13th of this year, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. And then I also have the Discover Your Purpose Challenge that's going to be going on throughout the year as well. And these are just things that you can tap into to help you tap into your purpose a lot more, because I hate it when I hear a woman complaining about her job or trying to figure out what she was made for, because we were all made for that. Which brings me to our class for today, our coaching session for today. We're really talking about how to discover your purpose and use it to create lasting change. And when I mean lasting change, when you discover your purpose, you literally create lasting change. I want to share with you a little story. The reason why I know God is in the mix of, in the mix and in the middle of all of this is because on Sunday, the message from our pastor was called "Made for More." You were made for more. And so what he talked about was the question that we always and should ask ourselves at the beginning of the year, which is, what am I made for? What am I made for? That's another way of asking, what is my purpose in life? And it was so beautiful because my pastor is Andy Stanley. He's our global pastor of our church. And he was sharing a story about how he was, not a pastor or a preacher or anything like that. He was a preacher's kid, but he wasn't a preacher. And then one day, this woman asked him, would he lead a Bible study in her home for a group of teenage kids. And he was like, that's not my gift. I mean, I've never led Bible study before or anything like that. He's like, I have a guitar, I can play some songs. So he said he was reluctant, but he actually answered, the charge. And so he went to her house. He was leading this group of, young people. He would have his guitar. He would, talk about the Bible in practical terms and everything like that. And then it kept on growing, growing, growing. And somehow the newspaper got wind of this person just leading a Bible study in a person's house, and there was like 50 kids there. So he showed the picture, and it was so funny. It was him with his little guitar by the side with about 50 kids sitting, crisscross applesauce on the floor. And they ran that, story in the paper. And he said and then for some reason it's like they had to move houses. So they moved to a new house because they kept on growing. And after that one session with the kids, the owner of that house, they were just talking and everything like that. And she was like, you're really good at this. You should really think about doing this. And he said, at the moment, it wasn't like a defining moment, but now when he looks back at it, he feels like that was his call to always do what he's doing right now, which is preaching. And I was just like, I was so amazed because I had a defining moment just like that in my life. I was in high school, as a matter of fact. I was in the 11th grade. I had just had my son Tamazier, and my elementary school teacher, Miss Anderson, she came to me and she was like, Kiki, child, you talk a lot. And I'm like, I know, Miss Anderson. She said, but I have opportunity for you. And I said, okay. She said, the Council for Prevention of Teen Pregnancy wants you to go around to all of the other sex education classes and talk about how hard it is to be a teen mom in hopes that others will think twice about, getting pregnant or, having a baby as a teenager. And I'm like, why would I do something like that? Like, I mean, why would I go around to my peers? My peers, y'all know how hard it is for us to be talking in front of our peers. But why would I go around to my peers, literally almost embarrassing myself, talking about, don't be like me, don't get pregnant? She said, well, if you do, they'll pay for your daycare. Sign, sign me up. Sign me up, please. And so I did go around to all of the schools in the county, and I started talking to classes about, just how, sharing my story, how hard it is to get pregnant as a teenager and go to school at the same time and all that kind of stuff. And a beautiful thing happened. People started listening. They started sharing with me how my story touched them. And I just fell in love with that interaction, which ultimately became speaking, which is a huge part of my life. That was my first paid speaking engagement, and I didn't even know it. I developed this, gift of communication, and that was one of my defining moments. I didn't know it then, but just like Pastor Andy Stanley, I know it now. So I'm saying that to you is, what is your purpose? What is your defining moment? What thing has significantly impacted your life that you can't even stop thinking about it right now? That thing or that moment or that experience probably has a lot to do with what your purpose is right now. And let me just clear the slate about purpose, right? I want us to really get a good definition of purpose because I know so many of you always get confused when it comes to just really understanding what purpose is. Your purpose, drum rolls, please, right? Your purpose is to make somebody else's life better and also make the world a better place. So you were born to contribute something to somebody else. As a matter of fact, somebody else is waiting for you to give your contributions to them. They're waiting on your purpose, right? What we get mixed up at is what I call the vehicle, right? There's a lot of different vehicles for us to serve our purpose. And so for me, my vehicle is speaking, writing, which is books, coaching. And so yeah, so those are my main and teaching, right? So speaking, teaching, they're kind of together, writing and coaching. This is how I disseminate my purpose. Because when I think about what my purpose ultimately is in terms of helping people, it's for me to help women discover their purpose and to find and create a career that they love. That's what my purpose in life is. It has always been that. It really has. Um, And so for me to really help women find their purpose, that has been the catalyst of my career. Later on, for me to help them find a career that they love, that was added when I learned about coaching. And so my purpose has evolved a little bit, but it's still under the same umbrella and it's still the same vehicles that I've always used, right? And so you have to figure out what that defining moment is for yourself and understand that you have a purpose, but you got to figure out the vehicle. I think that we're blessed. We're blessed enough to have our purpose as our job, some of us. Some of us we don't like our jobs. And so it's not our purpose. But here's the thing, you still have to walk in your purpose. There's no scenario on earth where you cannot walk in your purpose, right? We're either growing or we're not. And so You need to be walking in your purpose. And so, what I'm going to say to you is, it is your job to really figure out what that is. And so I want you to really start doing some practical things, some of the things that I've done over the past. And of course, right, I have your passion driven and purpose driven questions here. And so if you check out YouTube, I actually did a class on the three most important questions to help you discover your purpose. But of course, because y'all in the community, I'm going to share those three with you so that you can know what they are. And so the first one is what makes you cry or what makes you angry? See, for me, when I watched my mom go through her addiction, that made me cry. It made me angry. It made me pissed. It made me mad. All the things, and then that anger and that crying and that hurt then transferred to me seeing other women suffer as well. I couldn't stand it, so I ultimately went into social work so that I could help women like my mom get better, to become more successful, and ultimately that turned in just to a whole my whole entire purpose in life is to help other women do the same. So what makes you cry? What makes you angry? A lot of times when it comes to um like us, thinking about this question, we may say, oh, that makes me cry or that makes me angry, but at the end of the day, that's probably for somebody else. No, boo, it's for you. If it makes you angry enough, it makes you sad enough, you cry enough, then that thing is for you. That thing is for you. You need to do that thing. So that's question number one. Question number two is, what are you great at? What are your strengths? I mean, that's what that question is one of the things that really ultimately helped me find my purpose in life. I became really, really good at helping people solve their problems, which is the reason why I became a social worker in the first place, right? I became really good at that. I could find resources. I was good at talking to people, comforting people, holding people's hands. I was a great communicator. All those things I was really, really good at. So I thought about, okay, if I'm good at communication, I'm good at really, building great relationships with people. What career would be best for me? What would I be strong at? And social work popped up just like that. Social work popped up just like that. Now, ultimately, I didn't stay in social work because it just got to be too heavy. And what I mean by heavy is meaning sad. And it was just too sad for me. And I didn't want to continue waking up every day and experiencing the sadness over and over and over again. So ultimately, I changed to coaching, and that actually changed my entire life. And when I say strong at, amazing at, because I went to school and I did all the things that were necessary for me to build myself into an amazing coach. And now I even teach coaching because of that. So, what are you good at? And then look for positions and jobs and businesses that will help you do that. And then the last thing the question was, when you were younger, what did you want to do when you grew up? I know this one might seem simple, right? And it might not pertain to everybody. That's why coaching is so good because, when you're asked these questions by a coach can help you weed out the answers to these. But I asked this one question to my client, Sharice, and it ultimately changed her life. She was in pharmaceutical sales, and she literally didn't want to do that job anymore. And we met at a church function, and I told her I was a coach, and she ultimately hired me as her coach. And we were going through the passion driven and purpose driven questions. And I came to this question and I asked her, I said, what did you want to do when you were younger? She was like, oh, girl, I wanted to be a child psychologist. I was like, really? I mean, now pharmaceutical sales, child psychologist, two hugely different things, right? And I said, oh, I said, okay, so where's that for you right now? And she's like, girl, no, I don't work with nobody's kids or whatever. And I said, what about psychology? She's like, oh my God, I love psychology. I would love to work with, people and companies and psychology. And I said, have you ever heard of industrial organizational psychology? And she was like, what? I said, business psychology. She was like, no. And so I told her what it was, which is basically working with people in organizations around psychology. And she was like, oh my God, I love that. At the time, I was actually looking at a program to go back to school for that very thing. I showed her the program. She couldn't wait to get off the phone with me so she could go research and talk to her husband. Long story short, she and I both joined that program. And 4 years later, we graduated. So she's doctor and I'm doctor. And she did a 180 with her entire life based off of one question that I asked her. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. What did you want to be when you were younger? Because that might leave clues, right? All these questions that I have in this purpose driven and passion driven questions leaves clues that get you one step closer towards your purpose in life, right? So I want you to take some time to answer those questions. And I want you to take some time to reflect back on your experiences that you've had over your past life, right? And and try to come up with some defining moments that you think were defining and then give those defining moments some meaning. But it might take you, you might not get it on the first try, right? Like it might not happen on the first thing, but I bet you they're there if you take some time to reminisce and go back and think about those. That is how you're going to discover your purpose, and that is how that is going to create lasting change for your life. All right. Well, it's always a joy, it's always a pleasure. Please drop me a message here in the society. I always love hearing from you, and I can't wait to hear from you and be with you on either the challenge or at Thrive 25. All right, y'all. Love you. Mwah. All right. All right, Gail, you there?
Yeah, you need to end your recording.
I thought I did.
No.
Okay, hold on.